This dinner party sounds incredible. So you thought it was in honour of Nelson Mandela, or he was coming over as a friend?
Mr. Mandela, years ago when we met, he said, you know, that when he comes to the States, he would come to our house, and he wanted my wife to cook dinner for him.
And this was because he admired your work, he'd seen some of your films?
I think he liked my wife, is what it was. So, no, we had, you know, amazing guests, Oprah Winfrey, this one, that, you know, I mean, a lot of important people. And the neighborhood I live in is like a gated community. Sylvester Stallone just happens to live in the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
So they had security and helicopters flying around, people talking in their ears and stuff. And a guy came in and said, you know, sir, Mr. Stallone keeps walking back and forth in front of the house, like trying to hop over the fence, looking like, you know, trying to...
Hey, what's going on here?
Go Nelson!
So you, being a generous guy, you said, come on in.
I said, nah, make him wait. No, I let him come in, of course.
Emma S., I know you filmed this here in London. Of course, London is shown a great advantage in the film. It looks beautiful. But you've been here quite a lot. You came here before you were really established as a performer, didn't you?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I the first time I went to London was when I was 18, but recently The Favourite and Cruella kind of shot pretty close to each other in London. So I've spent a lot of time there lately.
Yeah, The Favourite was amazing as well. And you worked with Olivia Colman in that, of course, and she had some surprises for you on the set, didn't she?
What, are you talking about the sponge?
I am asking about the sponge, but I thought I'd approach it as elegantly as possible because it's quite...
You can't approach the sponge elegantly.
She tells that story as if it was a surprise, but I asked for that sponge.
OK, can we, just for the people who don't know what we're talking about, tell us what this is.
Oh, it's filthy. This is filthy. All right, you know, I got to diddle Olivia Colman in the movie, right? And so I have to, you know, kind of reach up her skirt, and there's just nothing there, and you have to kind of move your arm as if something's happening. And so, we put a damp sponge about... It's so disgusting. And then I just sort of had to, you know, fondle a sponge.
Did she put a tiny little wig on it? That would have worked.
Yeah. See, that's the attention to detail that wins Oscars.
Yes.
Your gap year, you taught English to Tibetan children and some adults in a monastery near or on the Himalayas.
Yeah, it was in the foothills of the Himalayas in Darjeeling, just outside of Darjeeling, a little hill station.
That's got to be the poshest gap year I've ever heard about.
It was quite rough and ready. It was a very cold, concrete sort of basement room that I was in, and what was amazing about it was the location. You'd open the window in the morning. It was their winter as well, so literal clouds would roll into your room like dry ice, but they were clouds. We were that high up. And you'd sort of be woken up at 5 in the morning by puja, the prayer ritual, which would be going on at the top of this converted Nepali house. It was amazing. It was quite hard, but...
And so, did you have to join in, or were you allowed to be the way you were?
They really wanted me to just be myself and bring whatever I had from home and just enjoy that, and it was just about having a Westerner and a different cultural sort of influence amongst them, and I think that was the fairest point of the exchange. I mean, I got to see everything they did, and it was just... It's extraordinary. It's a very hard life, but they have a lot of fun. They know how to have a good time, and...
So the monks have a good time. What's a really good night for a monk?
They love watching. They loved watching Braveheart when I was there. And they were...
So monks. So hold it. Tibetan monks are big Mel Gibson fans.
Well, they like the idea that, you know, in that film they're the Scottish oppressed minority, and of course the English are the Chinese.
So they see that.
There was all of that, and it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Prince Philip came to visit us on set one day, didn't he? Because we were filming in Windsor.
Yeah.
And he came out and he. All of us were in some barn.
He pulled up in a car.
And you met him.
And there's me and Joe sitting there. And the window went down on the Range Rover and he said, what are you doing?
Get off the
We're in Windsor Park. We're in his garden, you know. He said, we're making a film, sir. He said, how are you? I said, yeah, with Sir Tom Courtenay and Sir Michael Caine. And all that. Would you like to meet them? And he went, no.
I went to their house once for lunch, and there were 12 of us, and I couldn't work out for the life of me why I'd been invited. I played Queen Elizabeth and sitting next to her, and I thought, well, maybe she's seen the movie and wants to ask me about my interpretation. And I sat next to him, And he said, oh, I hear you're an actor. And I said, yeah, that's right. He said, well, I was given a DVD player for Christmas, and I can't work out whether I put the green cord in or the red cord. And I said, well, sir, it's not my area of expertise. I thought he's invited me for lunch to tell him how he's making DVD players.
So your first day working with Robert De Niro, how does that play out for you? What do you do?
You know, it was an interesting culmination because the first time I ever met him was... Well, I never met him, but I was in the audience and he was doing Inside the Actor's Studio, and I asked him a question. And
so how old were you then?
I was, 26 or something.
So you hadn't had any real success that we would know?
No, I was still in school.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked him a question. I remember he said because he doesn't talk much. Yeah. And he had done the whole interview, and I remember I asked him I was so nervous. This is stupid. I was so nervous because it was such a specific question I asked him. it was such like a nerdy question about this movie Awakenings, where he wanted to go for a walk, his character, and this medicine he was taking wasn't working anymore, so he kept having a tic, and he would compensate by pretending to rub his eyebrow. And so I wanted to ask him if that was something that he saw or it just came up, and I was just like, I was shaking. Because you had to stand up and ask the question and say your name and what track you're on, which is so stupid, so I never even said that. But anyway, so this other guy asked a question, and I asked it, and then he's there, and he's like, no, I didn't see anybody do that, no. That's a good question. And I was like, what? Wow. And it was like a beam of light shot into my stomach when he said that. And I honestly, and this is so. And then I asked the school if I could have a copy of that moment, and they just had it like in the wide set. And I'm not kidding. I would think about it like for a year later. I would think like, well, you know what? Like, go for it because Robert De Niro did say that was a good question. And honestly, so
just that tiny bit of
you
advice.
never know the impact you have.
Mitchell and Webb, who did Peep Show with you, knew them for years before, didn't you?
Yeah, we met when we were 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tom's age.
Wow.
Ah, little boys.
What's this? Can you tell this story? This story when you wet yourself on stage while working with them?
I think it's already been told, so yeah, it's out of my hands now. That was in David's book.
Oh, yeah. So what happened? Give me the details.
He did ask me before he put it in.
I want your perspective on it.
We were doing a production of The Miser for TIE, which is Theatre and Education. So there was 4 of us in it, and I think there were 15 characters or something. Yeah. I'm sure someone will complain I've got that wrong, but something like that. And we were travelling around in a van to schools, and David, for some reason, insisted there was one character that had a bow tie, but instead of a clip-on, he had a proper bow tie. Of
course he did.
Which was stupid. So fast changes, it would come out like that, and every time he appeared, the giggles became much bigger than the bow tie, and he'd appear on stage with this thing like that, and I just one day couldn't take it. And the suspense was killing me, and I wet myself. And it was a rate stage, that means it was sliding towards the audience. It was my entire bladder went. Yeah. But what he doesn't know is that in revenge, I wiped my legs on his costume when I went backstage.
This is a nice part of your life, I guess, is that you've become the godmother to Elton and David's little baby boy, Zachary.
Yes, Zachary.
OK, that's a lovely thing. And so you knew them before you knew Elton for a while, I think, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, for a while. And, gosh, Zachary's so beautiful. And I gave him a bath the other day.
Elton or the baby?
The baby.
Yeah, that's a smaller tub.
But it's so very sweet because, you're giving, Zachary a bath, and he's so cute, and he's such, like, the most beautiful boy ever. Oh, yeah, they're so amazing.
I love how, look, Elton John, that's you could not have a happier face on a man than that.
I know, he's so happy, but it's so funny because we had this sweet little boat that had, you could pour water out of it to rinse all the soap off of Zachary, and as I'm pouring it, Elton's singing, Tiny Dancer or something, and I'm thinking, this kid has no clue. That his father is such a legend, but the most beautiful thing to see, and for me, especially as someone that's such a gay rights activist in America, I could not see a happier family than I see in them. I mean, I truly have never seen a child have so much love in their life. It's so beautiful.
And seeing little Zachary splashing around his bath, water on, look up, Gaga. Did he say Gaga to you? Because that would have...
I don't want to give away too much private
Wouldn't it be great if you
information.
went... That would be great if his first words were, Gaga, they go, he's got me.
I will say that he's very spunky. He's very, very spunky.
That means something slightly different over here. But,
Does?
yeah.
What did I just say?
Doesn't matter. Must be fun to do, but I imagine slightly nightmarish getting into that makeup every day. How long's
Well,
that
that was from the first film, and yeah, it was a nightmare because it took like 4 to 6 hours. Wow. Then on the second film,
every day. Every day I worked,
yeah. On the second film, it's like an hour and a half.
Did you take it off in the evenings? Because I think if I was having 4 to 6 hours of makeup in the morning,
Yeah.
I would just sleep in it.
They've attempted that, and it doesn't work quite well because they actually have to touch it up so much that you might as well do the whole process.
Mary Berry used to do that on Bake Off.
Hold
No, she wouldn't mind me saying. She had her makeup on, then
She didn't look anything like Drax.
No, but she'd often keep it on for the next day. She'd keep her eyelashes on,
keep 'em
certainly.
on.
Very rock and roll. Yeah. Very rock and roll. Keep the makeup on, wake up, boom.
Hey, but here's the thing about Drax is, I hear you might not do the third movie.
What?
There's a controversy around the director and Disney, and you said you might not do it.
Well, yeah, there's a bit of an issue. It's a bittersweet conversation. No, it's a bitter conversation because I'm not really happy with what they've done with James Gunn. They're putting the movie off. It's on hold indefinitely, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I want to work for Disney.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here if he gets upset, so I should just change the subject. So I don't know I do not want to see that man pissed off. So,
I've been very vocal about the way I feel, and I'm not afraid to admit the way I feel.
Well, that's quite unusual in Hollywood. That's quite unusual.
Well, I don't think I'm your typical Hollywood guy. Yeah.
really? Because no, not at all. Not at all. Good for you, man.
That's the way I feel.
But you don't drink when working, but I heard that you had a drink before an audition once that it didn't go too well. Is that right?
That was a terrible moment. The reason I had a drink, so it was for a movie called Rock of Ages, which was this musical with like Tom Cruise and Russell Brand and all those guys. And it was years ago, and 8 years ago or something. And I had to sing that song, I've been waiting for a girl, right? Which, by the way, it is way higher than I can sing it, right? Anyway, the audition was at 10 a.m., right? I was first up, and it was at Warner Brothers Studios, and they have this big car park in the middle of Warner Brothers in LA. And I literally got up, brushed my teeth, went to the audition. And at 9:55, I'm in the car park, and I bought myself a little quarter bottle of Jameson. And I thought this would be brilliant, could give me a bit of confidence. Yeah. And it was good for your voice, it was good to warm up the vocal cords.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
But of course, the only thing I'd had that morning was like, toothpaste and breakfast. And I just sat there and I thought, right, here we go. And I just drank it and instantly puked. Like instantly, as soon as it passed me, I opened the door and it's just like outside, just vomiting. And all these people, all these like Warner Brothers execs and all just driving past, like looking at me. So then I'm like, didn't think forward. I didn't plan to puke, but I should have thought forward that I should have something to freshen the breath after at least the whiskey.
Yeah.
So then I go into this audition just thinking puke and whiskey.
Wow.
And then try to sing that song, which I got nowhere near. It went so badly that I was going, sorry, can I leave? I just don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, no, I saw something there. Like, well, let's do it again. Why don't we just go again? I think you're getting into the groove now. We're in this tiny little room that it was just smelling of
So a man
meat.
comes in looking like a thumb, smelling of puke and whiskey, can't hit the notes.
I know, it's amazing I didn't get the...
You didn't get the part.
Yeah.
So when you're on a set like that, there are times when you are playing very dark scenes and dark moments in his life and the lives of those around him. How do you keep it light? How do you keep it light in between? How do you keep yourself kind of upbeat?
Well, this film was light. It was very light and it was very joyful. I did a play recently called Angels in America. That was hard. That was 7.5 hours of an AIDS epidemic on stage, basically. So me and the cast had to figure out a way to keep things light. In between shows, we'd play a game that I made up called the Game of Giddiness and Freedom.
So a game you've made up? Because I haven't heard of this game before.
No, it's my trademark, Game of Giddiness and Freedom.
What are the rules?
The only rule is, you just say things to each other. And the only rule is you don't think. You just say words that have you're not thinking about anything, and truth tends to come out.
And so this is like stream of consciousness almost?
Yeah, and just no thinking, just words.
And what, do you have to say sentences or just gobbledygook?
You can say, yeah, anything. You just don't think. Hey, John, your name's Jonathan, my name's John. What are you doing for the rest of the night?
OK, let's see if we can play this then. Let's see if we can play this. Catherine, are you ready for this?
Yeah, because that's what I do all the time. I just talk.
Go. Do it.
Okay, well, I really had a nice time being here, and I can't watch your super sad, scary movies because I don't like to feel like that and grow as a person. But I respect them in their greatness and awards that you win for doing them. I like horses, not as much as you do, but I mean...
This is like a kind of cheap therapy that we're putting her through. Claire, are you ready to just, without thinking in advance, what's it called? The game of giddiness and freedom. And freedom. So giddily and free now.
Hot air balloon floating high into the sky, and it's got pink and yellow and purple as the colours in it, and in it are 4 people, and they're flying over the earth, and down below Tina Turner is singing.
That was wonderful and so lyrical and beautiful. It brings out the truth of the person. John. I just keep going to John. I just keep saying John. I'm the worst at the game on the couch. Everyone else is so good at the game that I invented.
Are you still playing the game, or were you just talking?
Good question.
How do you know when the game is over?